Alright, so as requested, I am doing a uniform of my Ghost Recon Breakpoint / Ghost Recon Wildlands military simulation group, as you've seen in my previous videos. Now, we roleplay as the 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, aka Delta Force. So, I'm just going to be going over the standard ACU uniforms and maybe civilian uniforms that they run. So, they really have no official uniform. Actually, according to the US government, they don't actually officially exist. However, you do know they exist because they carried out multiple operations, and you can do research in those. And they also assisted other countries in combined ops with or joint ops with multiple operations. So yeah, I was going over the basic ACUs of the Combat Applications Group. I do know that they can wear DPM or MTP or CAD-PAD or AOR patterns. If they're, like, for instance, guys in Task Force Black, like the SAS, they can wear, I've seen them in the UCP. And I've also seen Combat Application Groups wearing AOR patterns. So there's lots of flexibility and complexity to the uniforms. However, I'll just be going over the standard ACU uniforms. So here we go. I guess I'll start off with gear and work my way down, or I'll start off with the accessories and things like that. So I get the standard uniform, and then I'll go with the gear. So this is just going to be the typical, like, for uniform wise, it's pretty much any special operations operator or soldier. So I'm going to be running the Cry G3 shirt in multicam. Go over to gear for pants. Typically, your best bet will probably be any kind of Cry. Now, since I do not have the season pass of this game, I'm forced to use these fix-it pants. So any kind of Cry will work. However, I do have Cry, they're right here, but they have the knee pads, but I'll run them just for the sake of this. So you want Cry, and these need to be in multicam. For boots, you want the traction boots, and I typically like to keep mine gray. However, the most common you'll probably see is like a brown, a very dark brown, such as this, or this, but I bear more towards the darker colors, such as brown or gray. I've never really seen some black hiking boots. I have, but I haven't really seen them on Spec Ops. So, traction boots. So this right here is the standard uniform, Cry G3 top and bottom, and then you're going to run any kind of hiking boots. Now if you're like me and don't like to spend much money on video games and things like that, you can always run the UA Valstis RTS, the UA Agent Tactical you get away with. You can run the Oakley LSA, and that's about it. Now onto gear, we'll go to the vest. Vest, you're going to run a standard issue plate carrier. This will be the JPC, depending if you're doing like direct action. Let's say you're just raiding a base and getting out. You can run an AVS for the extra padding. If you don't have neither of these, you can find them in the world. However, if you don't have the JPC or the AVS, even wearing the AVS is kind of bearing more towards like a Ranger kit or perhaps a SEAL kit. So I say if you don't have those two, go towards the Velsa Scarab. This vest right here. If you don't have that, you can go towards the 511 Tech. You should have one of those, I'm hoping. However, the best option you can run is the JPC, so that's what we're going to be running. As for the color of the JPC, like I said before, there are pictures and actual even video footage of them running like AOR as their vest color. But however, since I'm running the ACU kit, I'm going to be wearing multicam. Now once you have gotten that, we're going to move over to gloves. Gloves are going to be the Oakley Sierra India assault gloves, and if you want like the most authenticity of the gloves, I say the brown. So the darker brown you got. As for head protection, you typically see them wearing the OpsCore Fast helmet. So that's what I'm going to equip, OpsCore Fast. If you run any kind of mesh cover, then you can go ahead and make that a multicam or AOR, depending on how you want your kit, how flexible you want it. So if you're wearing mesh, you can run the multicam cover, the multicam mesh cover. If you're running the standard hard hat, then you're going to want the khaki netting. I believe I have it equipped already. Do I? I got khaki. So khaki netting is what you're going to want if you still have the standard hard cover. Now that's it for gear. As you can see, here's the kit by far. Oh, and by the way, accessories on your war belt and your plate carrier will depend based on the utilities you have and the weapon, I believe. So now moving on to, we'll go to backpack. So for backpack, this typically just varies on the op. You don't want anything too heavy because that'll just weigh you down. You really can't control that with your vest. However, you can estimate how heavy a backpack would be by its appearance. For instance, the 3-day assault pack, that'd be relatively heavy. Operators don't like to be weighed down, especially during direct action where you have to keep moving, or on a patrol even. If it's a multi-day op or a multi-day phase, then yeah, you can run a heavier backpack. However, keep in mind, you'll probably have on some kind of vest and all your other equipment that also weigh you down. So typically what I run, I like the story of the game, so I typically run the Nomad pack right here. You can also run the Blackhawk C-Aim, the Cryo VS, the DA Direct Action. If you got a radio guy, you can run that. So backpacks really doesn't matter, it just depends on the op. However, you don't want to have anything too heavy. If you're raiding a camp or a base or any kind of factory like a wolf camp or anything like that, then you're probably going to run something lightweight, such as like a Cryo VS or a Blackhawk C-Aim or a DA Direct Action Mark II. However, me personally, my favorite backpack in the game is the Nomad Amp 24. So that's what I'm running for this. Moving on to Facewear. Facewear, this really depends. If you're doing any kind of op that involves chemicals, then yeah, you're probably going to want to slap on a gas mask. However, typically what you'll see me wearing is a wrap shamog in woodland and human environments, because one special operations tactics, they actually take t-shirts and shamog, dip their faces in water, and that helps them keep cool in human environments. But typically you'll see me personally wearing the shamog, the neck shamog, the face shamog, like the wrap shamog, or nothing at all. However, for this kit, I'm going to run nothing at all. As for NVGs, if you need them, if it's the middle of the day, you don't need any NVGs because it's just extra weight on top of your head. So for NVGs, you can run the GP NVGs or the L3 GP as they're called in this game, or you got the duals, the PS15s. Either of those can work because Keg's on the same tier dev crew, and I've seen them wear both, so there's really no regulation between those two. But however, you do want to avoid the standard vision if you're trying to go for an accurate Delta Force kit here. Avoid the standard vision, and you want to bear more towards these two. If it's the middle of the day, then you don't need any, which right now I'm not going to equip any. So proceeding over to headsets. Headsets can really vary. This is your choice, your op. I just avoid anything like the Revision Comp C Sensor 2 headsets like this here. However, what I bear to the most is the Peltor, which I currently do not have because it's a purchased item. However, I bear more towards the Peltor the most. However, if you don't got the Peltor, you got the Safari Liberator, the TCI Liberator, the Ops Core Amp, or the earpiece. Really up to you. That's your choice. As for patches, there really is no IR patches in this game. I wish there was. However, typically, it's best you run your blood type. Mine is AB negative, so you want to run AB negative, or not AB negative, run your blood type, or you can make up a blood type if you don't know it, or you can run an American flag. However, if it's a night op or anything like that, where these bright colors would kind of give away your position or reveal you, then I wouldn't run an American flag. So in conclusion, you can run the American flag if it's the right situation / circumstance, or you can run no patch or your blood type, or a blood type, because you may not know your blood type. So here, let me equip the headset for you. I'll equip the earpiece. Alright, so that's about it. Moving on to knives. No one's really going to care about your knife. If you want to run the Fury knife, I would say no. Towards the kit, authenticity. I would run the Tash J, the straight edge, or the serrated edge. Either of those. However, I bear more towards the utility knife, the straight edge, and the Tash J. Currently me, I am using the Tash J. My favorite knife is the straight edge. Okay, so that's really about it for the Combat Applications Group's kit. Here, I'll equip multiple things so you guys can see how it will look in total. I'll equip some NVGs also. Typically in videos, you'll see me running the duals. And I'll go over weapons here also. As for eyewear, I don't think I went over this. If you're doing any kind of halo or hey-ho jump, like insertion, then you're definitely going to want on some goggles, such as the goggles ACH or the Oakley Halo goggles. If you don't have those, you can always run the aviator goggles or the tactical, which both of these can be found in-game, especially the tactical. The tactical are found, I know off the top of my head, in the Sinking Country province for those of you who want them. So that's what you want to bear tomorrow for halo jumps. If you're not You know, if it's a day op, then maybe you can throw in some sunglasses. If it's a night op, then you don't want any eyewear at all. You might be able to get away with wearing some Oakley frames because of the clear lens. Other than that, eyewear, if it's a night op, which typically about 90% of the stuff I do for realism, this goes for spec ops anyway, is usually at night because it gives you the advantage against the op 4, such as visibility, concealment, etc., etc. So typically I avoid the eyewear because most mobs are at night that I conduct. So there you have it. Now we'll proceed over to the weapons. Characters really doesn't matter. Whatever character you got works. Face paint, this is really your choice. Typically I'll lay off the face paint unless you're let's say you're on a patrol or you're doing some kind of reconnaissance op where you need to cover your face, or perhaps you're at night and your face will shine, depending on your character, well, just in general. So yeah, face paint you can use. Tattoos really doesn't matter. Yeah, so your character, however you got your character set up is however you can continue to set it up. Alright, so as I'm currently editing, I did realize that one thing I forgot to mention during the video is the relative age of the operator. You don't want an operator that looks too old because the average special operations soldier / operator is roughly 35. So proceeding over to weapons, my personal favorite weapon in real life and in game is the M4A1. However, you do got the HK416. I think I have mine at all the way at the bottom. I'll be running off the list that I have. You got the HK416. Going up, I do allow some of my guys to use the G28 Wilderness on reconnaissance ops or ops that require them to move through a hostile terrain, especially at night. You can use the Mark 48 if you're an automatic rifleman. If you got the MP5, you can use that. The 5.16, you can use that. I hear some people I know talk about the Coblin. I personally don't have it. If you have that, you can use it. However, for this, I'll be using the M4A1. For accessories on your weapon, I say it really doesn't matter, ultimately. Just don't make a stupid looking weapon because in special operations forces, they are allowed, it's just the military in general, they're allowed to choose what they want, like accessory wise, because they're the one using the weapon. So typically what I run, if I'm doing direct action, like raiding the compound or something, I typically run the angle grip. However, if I'm on a reconnaissance mission like the mountains or whatever, for instance, or I'm on like a long range or reconnaissance patrol, then I run a foregrip. There are grenadier guys I have who run the 40 mic or the underbarrel grenade launcher for this. However, I don't run it personally. So optics, all this is your choice. However, typically if it's a night op, I wear something like the holographic so I can ADS. Alright, so during the initial recording, I didn't really have time to explain this, but whenever it comes to ADSing with NVGs, it can be very awkward depending on the optic and the NVGs you're wearing. However, typically, you run a PEG 2 or a PEG 15, and then you be overhead and use the IR pointer as a guide for your shots. Laser sights typically can consist of the AT-PAL. I see lots of guys using the MAUL. It's an IR laser, so yes, you can use the MAUL also. Typically I bear more towards that, the MAUL, the AT-PAL, or the PEG 15. PEG 15 is probably one of the best. That's what they use during Operation Neptune Spear. So yeah, that's probably one of the best ones you can use, that or the MAUL. AT-PAL is also one if you only have that one. So yeah, that's really it. Magazines, the one thing you don't want to run for magazines is a extended magazine. That'd be too much weight, that make your gun much heavier, especially with the laser sight. And you don't want to run the small magazine like it's the 60s. Now, one thing I do advise you for the realism is that if you're running the laser sight, you are going to want some kind of angle grip or foregrip to hold it up because laser sights are very heavy in real life. Moving over, so for secondary weapons, you don't want anything. You only want two weapons, a primary weapon and a sidearm. No secondaries if you're trying to run an accurate kit. Personally, me, I like the P227 because it's the closest thing in game to the P226. However, you can run the Beretta M9 if you have it. As for utilities and things like that, avoid things like intel grenades and diversion lures. I guess those are sometimes exceptionary. Avoid sync slot drones and avoid, that's really about it. You can use the rocket launchers if you want to because those are the closest thing to a Gustav. And EMP grenades you can also use, however those will be circumstantial. things to bear more towards are the Mark 1 mines, the C4 charges, frag grenades, fragmentation, and you got your M84 flashbangs. Water canteens and binoculars, all the other stuff is necessary, such as rations, all that's like optional. I'm assault class. I use gas grenades. Typically, I don't use these to kill opponents. I typically use these as smoke grenades or to mark an extraction point for a pilot who's coming to get us or whatever. And then I have bandages. So this video was requested by someone. Don't remember off the top of my head who was. It was actually requested by a couple of people. So here is the 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Group's kit.